Inoue is getting a lot of fanfare. He's probably more beloved than the majority. I would say like damn near everyone in boxing. I mean, I know you have Canelo Alvarez, but he's towards the end of his career. His popularity, it's dwindling because he lost to Crawford now, and people are fickle. So I think there's a real case to be made that you could say that the Monster might be the most popular fighter in boxing right now. He sold out the Tokyo Dome. That's 50,000 plus right there in his home country. He came to America earlier this year against Cardenas. He sold almost 10,000 tickets. I think it was like 8,400 something, which isn't a big number, but it's better than a lot of American fighters can do, damn near, right? So he gets a lot of fanfare because of the great fighter he is and the great fighter he's been for not just 1 year, not just 2 years, not just 5 years. We're talking about, guys. For those of you who know, we'll go to screen share. For those of you who know, and for those of you who don't know, we're talking about, if you scroll all the way down, right? We're talking about his 6th pro fight. We're talking about since April of 2014. So you guys do the math. In April of 2026 this year, it'll mark 12 years. You heard that right. 12 years consecutive of Naoya the Monster Inoue at the championship level of boxing. And so naturally, people are getting sick of Inoue. Some people, they're getting sick of Inoue. They are finding reasons to downplay him. They're looking for anything, whether it be the raps, because that was a big story. He had the whole hand wrap thing out there in Saudi Arabia. And I spoke to some of my people in Japan about that were there in the locker room, and what they told me, and you guys can take it for what it's worth. But some of my people in Japan that were in and around the situation in Saudi Arabia, they told me that Inoue and Picasso and the commission, they all had a big miscommunication, and that's what led to all that. And what was put out there by DAZN was just one very, very minimal moment of what was going on. So that's what I was told. You can choose to believe it or not. But anyway, Inoue has been at the championship level for 12 years. And when you're great for a long time, people find ways to discredit you, So they'll say things like, Inoue hasn't fought anybody, right? But that's not true, because we know he's fought future Hall of Famer Nonito Donaire. We know he fought Stephen Fulton when he was a French pound-for-pound guy. We know that he fought Marlon Tapales, who's a very fantastic champion. Luis Neri, who's been a multiple division champion, who's one of the most dangerous guys in and around his weight class. And the list goes on and on and on. And look, you look at Inoue, right? You look at Inoue, you look at what he's done this year. Now, granted, you're talking to somebody. I've gotten criticized from a lot of the hardcore Inoue fan base, even though I'm a hardcore Inoue fan myself. I've gotten criticized from the Inoue fan base because I've been hypercritical of some of these guys, even fighting like the Yi Jun Kims and Merjan and I guess Picasso especially, right? I told you guys what that fight was before it ever happened. Before they even thought about signing it, I told you what that fight was, right? And but you know what? You look at the whole body of work. You can't just judge it off one fight. Look at the whole body of work. You're talking about a guy who has been the undisputed champion, right? He came into this year the undisputed super bantamweight champion. He fought 4 times in a calendar year, defending the undisputed championship, and he leaves this year as the undisputed champion. He's the first fighter since Larry Holmes in 1983 to defend the Ring Magazine title 4 times in a calendar year. He's the first guy that I know of. You guys tell me, since I've been watching boxing, he's the first guy that I know of who's been an undisputed champion to fight 4 times in a year and win, that many times in a year while being the undisputed champion. So he's doing unprecedented things. And look, I feel like when Terence Crawford was in boxing, it was definitely a lot more of a discussion, because Crawford is obviously an all-time great fighter, and he's 3-time undisputed. So I didn't have a problem with Terence Crawford being above the Monster, but now that he's retired, and now it's just Usyk and Inoue. Now look, I like Usyk. I've sung his praise many times, and there's been times where I thought he was number 1. But when you factor in, I'm talking about 12 years at the championship level, 4 times fighting in 1 calendar year as the undisputed champion. I mean, for my money right now, and I thought this at certain points in his career, but really, for my money right now, the best fighter in the world, whether you like it or not, is the Monster. It is. Like, straight up, it is. You can sit here and you can criticize what he isn't doing and who he isn't fighting and blah, 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 blah. He's fighting the top guys in his division, and he's just demolishing them one after one, just one after another. Like, he's just demolishing them. And you got to look at too also, it's not so much like the fact that he's winning. He had 4 fights the first 2 fights this year, he won by stoppage. He knocked out Yi Jun Kim, another puncher, on short notice, and one a cherry pick, right? Because he was supposed to fight Sam Goodman. Sam Goodman kept pulling out. Then he fought Ramon Cardenas in a fight where he got dropped. So he went through some adversity. He got up off the deck, and then he went and he stopped him, right? Then he did a whole 180 on you guys. He did a whole 180 on the whole boxing world. He said, you know what? I'm getting ready to fight these bigger guys. I'm getting ready to go ahead and fight these guys like Rafael Espinoza and Angelo Leo and these guys that are really dangerous in my career. I have to be more of a technical fighter. And for the duration of the Monster's career, I've always heard people say that, even like Rick Glazer. I had Rick Glazer on here about a year and a half ago. He came on here and he was trying to say that Inoue is more of a knockout artist. It's not so much as IQ. But what has he shown the world in these fights against, 2 of the top rated guys in his division? No, he showed you guys, hey, I can box extremely proficiently, and I don't gotta go for the knockout. I can actually just box your ears off. I could 12-0 you if I want to. I could 10-2 you if I want to. I'm that level of a fighter. So he's showing you guys that he's a complete fighter, that he's a complete package. And we're at a point now, and I'll go by the screen share because I saw a tweet that I liked, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So this guy right here, a guy named Miyari, shout out to him. He says, and I quote, "Why do people act so weird about Naoya Inoue being good? It's not an Asian fetishism. He's just good and fights a lot. Unlike basically all other good boxers on the pound list. There's little reason to dislike him outside of the weird vendettas." And to that, I would agree with him. Like I would 1000% agree. He's proven himself. Like, okay, I could understand from a hater standpoint, right? From a hater standpoint. Before the Stephen Fulton fight, if you said, you know what, in a way, he fought nothing but an old known. He ain't fought no, top American fighters. He hasn't done this. He hasn't done that. He went undisputed in a weak ass weight class at bantamweight. I would say, you know what, maybe you can. I don't agree with you, but you can have your point. But he went undisputed again. All right, he fought Fulton, who was the #1 guy with no tune-ups, and you saw what Junto Nakatani tried to do the same thing with Jorge Sebastian or Sebastian Hernandez Reyes, and you saw how hard it was for him. And when Inoue did it against a higher quality of opponent, he went ahead and beat the brakes off of him. So he showed you his greatness time and time again. It's reached the point now where if you can't at least acknowledge that, hey, I'm not saying you got to believe he's the best fighter in the world, but if you're still out here saying that, trying to discredit his greatness as not being one of the top upper echelon creme de la creme fighters, then you're just a miserable person. Honestly, at this point, you're just a miserable human being, and that's okay. That's okay. Not all of us are meant to be happy. Some of us got to be miserable, because what would joy be without some good old pain and misery, right? So, yeah, to me, right now, it's not a discussion, because you can definitely argue and say Usyk beat better fighters if you want to, and I wouldn't even say it's a bad argument. But when it's just like, it's the combination of everything, the combination of performance, versatility, activity, like everything you'd want, everything people say they'd want from a particular fighter. This guy's giving it to you guys, and he's giving it to you guys on a silver platter. So I'm not gonna wait. I'm not gonna wait till he's gone from the sport to appreciate him. No, I'm gonna appreciate him right now while he's still boxing. And whether he stays at super bantamweight, or to fight Junto Nakatani, or goes to featherweight, he's one of those guys. He's one of the few guys in this fight game that he could fight the electrician, he could fight the janitor. He's must see TV. So that's why I stand with Inoue. That's why I stand with him in his career. And I'm just happy to say that I've been here the whole time. For the majority of his time at the top level of boxing, I've been here faithfully covering his career. And it's been a blast. He's been one of the most covered fighters on this channel, and I would say the Picasso fight was probably the first time I ever got up and went live for an Inoue fight where I wasn't like overly excited about it, because I knew Picasso really had no chance, and then Picasso fought in a manner that was to survive. it was cool seeing him do his thing in box, but for Inoue standards, it wasn't his most exciting fight. But I could appreciate it. It was one of his most mature fights. It was one of his most disciplined fights, and I think another 12 rounds in the bank against a bigger guy before you fight Junta Nakatani and these guys at featherweight. It won't do him any harm. I think, but like I said, I think what I would like to see would be Naoya Inoue definitely countering a bit more. He made Picasso miss a whole lot, but he didn't really counter enough for my liking. I feel like there was a lot of making him miss, but not enough making him pay. So in the next fight against Junto, I feel like that could be an area where he could capitalize on, but he has to be willing to capitalize on it. So we'll see what happens. Maybe, like I said, maybe that Cardenas knockdown from earlier in the year, it's playing a role in the psyche, and he's becoming more of a risk-averse, safety-first type of fighter. So we'll see.